Right, a very good afternoon to all of you. So I'll keep my talk really short. So what is a cohort? So it has been described in the old Roman times as an ancient Roman military unit or a band of warriors. Probably something that would look like that. In statistics, we describe a cohort as a group of persons with a common statistical characteristic or some characteristic in common. So what is the cohort study? So it is a longitudinal prospective study. It starts usually with people that are free of disease or intervention. It assesses the exposure at baseline and then assesses the disease status at follow-up. Cohort can be a geographically defined group, as is described in the famous Framingham study looking at smoking and various risk factors for coronary artery disease. Or it could be a special resource group like medical insurance plans or medical professionals or veterans or prisoners. So any basic question in analytic epidemiology is that is the exposure and the disease linked? When you look at it in a forward direction, I think people have already explained this, then you're looking at a cohort study or clinical trial. When you're looking at backwards, then you're looking at a case control study, and I think somebody else will cover that. So we are always interested in finding out whether there is an association or there is a causation. So an association between a risk factor and disease can be due to the risk factor being a cause of the disease, with example, a causative agent, or the risk factor is not a cause of the disease but is merely associated with the disease, which is a marker. And you must always guard against thinking that A causes B when really B causes A, which is the reverse causation. So there is an association, for example, between A and B. It could be that A causes B. The reverse causation would mean that B causes A. Or it could be a confounding factor like C, which is actually causing B, and therefore it is associated with A. Now, what is the importance of knowing the causative factor? So if you remove the cause, then you decrease the disease incidence in the population. And we've seen this with decreased aspirin use that is causing decreased Rey syndrome. Or if you discourage prone position in infants, then you can reduce the incidence of sudden infant death syndrome. So how the cohort study works, so you select a population that is disease-free and at risk of getting the disease. You expose that population, of course within ethical limits, to a specific factor or intervention, and then you follow them up and count the incident events. So it is always in the future, or it's a longitudinal forward-facing study. So you get the eligible subjects, you expose them, or you expose some of them to a particular causative factor, and then some of them will get disease, some of them won't get disease. However, even the unexposed, some of them will get disease and a majority will not get the disease. So I think it's already been covered, this 2x2 table. And this is how you describe the risk of getting the particular disease. So relative risk is used in cohort studies. It is the incident rate in exposed upon the incident rate in non-exposed. It is a standard measure of association for cohort studies, and it describes the magnitude and the direction of the association, and it's given by this formula, which we have already seen in the previous slides and in the previous talks. And then you also look at the risk difference, which is the incident rate in exposed minus the incident rate in non-exposed, and you calculate numbers needed to treat by an inverse ratio of the risk difference. The interpretation is clear. So relative risk of 1 indicates the risk of disease among exposed and non-exposed are identical, which means that the exposure to a particular agent is not resulting in the disease. If the relative risk is twice, that means it's twice as high in exposed as compared to unexposed. So what are the strengths of cohort studies? So basically we can find out the incidence rate and the risk of getting a particular disease when a person is exposed to a certain risk factor. More than one disease can be related to a single exposure. It can establish a cause and effect relationship, and it is good when the exposure is rare, so that you look at one particular factor that is causing the disease. And it minimizes selection and information bias. However, there are weaknesses with cohort studies. There can be losses to follow-up. It often requires a large sample. It is very ineffective for rare disease. It takes a long time to complete, and it is expensive, and there can be ethical issues. So I'll end this talk with a little case scenario. This is a theoretical case scenario. So say we are looking at a cohort of children with Perthes disease, and we want to find out whether the virus derotation osteotomy works or not. So I select about 100 children with Herring B and C classification of Perthes disease, and VDRO is offered to all these children. However, 50 parents refuse to undergo surgery for their children. All children are followed up to 40 years of age. I've got a lot of resources for doing this. And my primary endpoint or primary outcome is how many of these children undergo total hip replacement. So I construct a 2x2 table. So VDRO group versus no VDRO group, and THR versus no THR, and these are the figures. So total children become 100. So if you look at the relative risk, so relative risk of total hip replacement in VDRO group is 0.25, as against the relative risk of THR in no VDRO group is 4. So if you don't do a VDRO, then these children are 4 times more likely to get a THR by the time they are 40 years of age. And you can calculate the risk difference as 0.2 minus 0.6, 0.2 minus 0.8 is equal to minus 0.6. So the key issues, however, in this study are that the groups have to be identical at baseline. There is a chance of bias because it's not randomized. So this is the inferiority of a cohort study as against a randomized control study, because you are not randomizing the children into the two groups. It is basically based on some other factor other than randomization. And of course, the primary endpoint is the total hip replacement, which is a very hard endpoint or a hard outcome measure, and therefore it's less likely to be affected by the assessment bias. So in summary, cohort studies are prospective longitudinal studies where exposure happens after the start of the study. It is a good way of evaluating your study if the exposure is rare. It is also good to establish a cause and effect in an association. However, it is inferior to a randomized controlled trial as there can be sources of bias. It's not good for rare diseases, and it is expensive. Thank you.